Using one word, how would you define your experience here today?
Dark, silence.
I would have to say the word silence. Do you feel the movements were specific to the site?
Yeah, the movements were quite good because the movements they were doing were all covering their bodies, and bodies are something that are buried in great.
How would you define the atmosphere of the space?
Well, I was cautious because I was waiting for something to happen, like knowing them moving, but it didn't.
Using one word, how would you define your experience here today?
A bit surreal, I think. Surreal.
Unsettling. Enlightening.
Do you feel the movements were specific to the site?
I think some of the very still movements reflected the fact that obviously there are a lot of dead people here, that it's a quiet place ordinarily, or would be. And I think some of the more rapid movements, for me, reflected some of the noise in the background of the modern world with the roar of the traffic.
Yeah, and they started off covering their eyes. Almost felt like it's the tradition when someone's died, you put like 2 pennies on their eyes and like you send them off on their way. And one of the girls like flopped over and then did that, and we're in a church. It's quite a religious environment.
What were your first thoughts of the space, and did that change after the performance?
My first thoughts of the space were of peace and faith and religion. And after the performance, I think I thought of the space as a stage.
Did the piece change your perspective on cemeteries?
I wouldn't say it changed my perspective. I think it enlightened me. I personally find cemeteries quite creepy, and I think the piece, because it was such almost a static piece, there was rapid movements, like they stayed in one place, it's kind of like the grave with the movement around it, the ever-changing, like because it's an abandoned kind of cemetery, it's like the ever-changing around the stones. I find quite odd, and I've thought about more since seeing the piece.
How would you define the atmosphere of the space?
When I entered the space, it was a bit of a mystery because I thought there was just like 2 people in the space, and then as I kind of went forwards, realised there was more. It's kind of mystery of like, because they haven't got any writings on the gravestones, you don't know who died or what they died of, when.
now and
Using
again.
one word,
Like a
how would you define your experience here today?
Morbid.
Scary.
Eerie. Does the piece change your perspective on cemeteries?
Yeah, a little bit, I guess.
In a way, yes, because sometimes you presume cemeteries to be not nice places, but well kept, and this is always like a hidden part of a cemetery, and it's obviously not well kept, which is different from like usual view on cemeteries. Do you feel the movement was specific to the site?
Yeah, it made sense because it was kind of like jointy, like the movements, so it was like skeletal, I guess.
What were your first thoughts of this space, and did that change after the piece?
My first thoughts of the space. I thought it was dark, frightening and scary, and that didn't really change, no.
Very overgrown, and literally you didn't know where to go because there was no pathway, so you're a bit worried. But yeah, that didn't really change. But I thought that brought more atmosphere to the piece and made the piece nicer.